Hey, have you heard of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Pandora? Well, yeah, you can listen to us on all of them and many more platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to get notified of new episodes and leave a review to let us know how much you love us. Follow us on Facebook, In the Trenches with the Toulons, IG, In the Trenches Podcast, Twitter, Trenches Podcast, and our favorite, our website, inthetrenchespodcast.com.
You are now jumping into the trenches with the Toulons, Touly and Ralph, where we pull back the curtain on what marriage and relationships are really about. So let's start the show.
Hey everyone, it's Ralph.
And this is Tula Poozy, a.k.a. Toulon.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Hi, babe. Hi, babe. How are you?
All right, Tulapoozy. What is that?
I don't know. Who called me that? Brent used to call me my line brother Brent.
Like Tulapalooza? No,
Tulapoozy. 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 Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from.
He don't like you.
I don't know.
That's not a nice name to call somebody.
Okay.
Okay, anywho. We are here.
Once again.
Yes.
For another episode.
Yes.
Of In the Trenches with the Toulons.
Yes.
Okay.
The holiday edition.
Hope everybody had a great holiday. We did. It's the first time I've ever house hop, I think.
Yes.
Felt like it was all over Atlanta.
Yeah, we're usually in Charleston, but this year we had to work.
We had to work.
Yeah, we had to work that weekend. And then also my father got me and my son sick.
Yeah, so I was playing Dr. Touly on Monday.
So my voice is extra sexy.
Sounds the same.
Oh, okay. So it's regular sexy. I got you. Okay. All right. I'm here. Anywho, we're back with another episode of why you should not get married.
Or why you think you should.
Or why you should try to work on your marriage.
Or why you should stay single.
Or why you should murder them. Okay, we're done. All right. So, you want to introduce this guest?
On this episode, we have a guest by the name of Suzanne Bloom. She was a stay-at-home mom. She raised 4 kids. And once her kids left the household, she decided to become an entrepreneur. And in doing so, it turned their household upside down financially. So let's go ahead and jump into the episode.
So we have Suzanne with us in the trenches today. And Suzanne has been married for 28 years. This is unbelievable.
It's a quarter of
You're
over a
telling
quarter.
me.
She made it. So Suzanne, how has it been being married for 28 years, truthfully?
Truthfully, it's been a wild roller coaster ride, that's for sure. There's been some really, really good times and some really, really not so good times.
Okay. So a little bit that we know is that you used to be a stay-at-home mom turned into entrepreneur.
Right.
Okay. So when you were a stay-at-home mom, how much of the marriage was that? Like, how many years of that was the marriage?
it was a long time. So we got married on November 24th of 1991 and had our first child on October 23rd of 1992.
Oh.
So that wasn't a whole lot of time to get used to each other.
Mm.
So pretty much, and that was not planned either, but pretty much from that point forward, I was a stay-at-home mom until about 10 years ago. We homeschooled the kids. So they were always around, always underfoot. We had kind of a weird lifestyle because my husband he's a software engineer, PhD software engineer. And at that point, until just a couple of years ago, he worked from home. So we had me, we had the kids, we had him working from home. And I don't know if I can't remember if I mentioned this, but I have 4 kids and they're all very close in age. So they're 26, 25, 24, and 21.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Was I back to wait a little bit and back?
And back, yeah.
And you homeschool all 4?
I homeschooled all four.
Wow.
And that's kind of at the end of their homeschool journey is kind of what pushed me out to work. So they all went to college about 14, 15 years old. And I hadn't finished my degree. So at that point, when they were going back to college, I was thinking, okay, what do I do now? I need some sort of career. And my generation was you get good grades, graduate from high school, and go to college.
Yeah.
And I hadn't finished that part. So the natural thing for me to do was just go back to college. So at the same time that they're in school, I'm in school. So working on degrees in music, performance, theory, composition, history, and languages.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, so first thing, you have you at home, you have kids at home, and you have daddy at home. Usually you don't see when you have like a stay-at-home situation, the dad is not home. You know what I'm saying? They go off to work and then they come back and mom is home with the kids doing homeschooling. So how did that work with everyone in the house?
It was mass chaos sometimes, definitely.
Yeah.
But blessing and curse, my husband is really, really good at completely ignoring things.
Okay. Yeah.
So for instance, there were some crazy stories and crazy times. My youngest, he's always been kind of a stinker. And when he was 4 years old, the other kids were all off we had this creative writing class that we were going to. So I took the oldest two out, the youngest two stayed home, dad was there. And I said, hey, my husband's name is Sean. I said, hey, Sean, just keep an eye on them. They're playing video games. They're finishing up schoolwork. So just keep an eye on them. He was in the room in his office working. And I came back into the house and you get that, well, maybe you don't know, but you get that mom's spidey sense. And I'm walking down the hallway thinking, something's really not right. Mm-hmm. And I look and Sean's working, concentrating, no problem. And then I take a left off the kitchen, go into there, and something catches my eye, just out of the corner of my eye. He had taken one of those big, huge tubs of hot chocolate that you can get at Costco, and kind of powdered the whole kitchen. He made hot chocolate in the dog water. It was dripping down the counter. It was everywhere.
Oh my!
And the one child that stayed home with him, he goes, "I told Dad he was doing that." And then my husband's like, "What? I didn't hear anything. Everything was quiet in there."
I bet it was.
Of course it was.
It was really quiet. So yeah, that he's very good at being able to tune things out, which is good for his job.
I think it might be a male thing.
Yeah, because
I can tune out the world immediately.
He has that superpower as well, where I can't do it at all. So with this dynamic that you homeschooled them throughout their schooling career, at any point did resentment come in? Because you're like, okay, I just asked you to just watch them for a couple of hours and then this happens.
Yeah, sometimes it not so much resentment because he didn't watch them. He was always there, so it was easy. Where most stay-at-home moms don't get an escape, I did. And sometimes you hear mom and dad situation. What I encountered is a lot of my mom friends would say, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to go out and do this, but I need to ask my husband if he'll watch the kids." And I'm like, I never had that situation with Sean. He said, "No, they're my kids. There's no such thing as me babysitting my own kids."
Right.
So that was easy for me. Sometimes it was just the stress of everything, feeling like everything was on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. And also another dynamic in our relationship that's a plus minus is he trusts my opinion. He trusts what I do. So a lot of times he'd just be like, "Okay, well, whatever you want to do, go ahead." And I'm like, "No, I want some help. I need some decision. I need someone to bounce something off of." And he's like, "Yeah, it's okay. You got it. I'm like, "No, I don't."
Sounds like marriage.
So that's where the resentment kind of came in after a while. Like, stop making me make all the decisions. I don't want all the responsibility for when things screw up.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I'm done.
We're working on that now. We're working on it.
Oh, you know what? It's 28 years and we're still working on it. It's just different situations now.
The marathon continues.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so you did mention ups and downs. What has been the most gratifying up and the worst down moment? That's tough because there's been a lot of good things. Mm-hmm. Watching each one of the kids
graduate from high school, from college, and become independent. And we just moved. We had a huge move across country and took all the family we were in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We all moved to DC, Northern Virginia, except for my daughter, who stayed behind in New Mexico. She'll be here soon though. And then watching everybody kind of get into this new area and blossom. And my son is getting married. My oldest is getting married in December. And then Katie just got engaged. She'll be married in May. So those are the ups, really, is seeing the kids kind of do their own thing and move on. So as far as growing as the family dynamic, there's that. In terms of the marriage, it's just growing together, learning how to get over the bumps and, really just growing and helping each other become the best version of ourselves. There's a book called Leadership and Self-Deception. And I don't know if there's a specific author. I just remember seeing the Arbinger Institute on there. Super, super good book, especially when you're talking about resentment and things like that. It's really from a standpoint, it starts from it's like a fable kind of standpoint of this guy who's in this corporate position and his bosses pull him out and they talk about the way that we view other people, the way that we view ourselves and how that affects our relationship. And this book really, this is, I forgot where I was going with that one now. Sorry. But that book really helps with that resentment issue and that growing together. And I guess the reason that I thought about that is that's a recent book that I read, and it really helped me understand the ups and downs of the marriage and where we were going and how we view each other and how to make the relationship better. So highs in the marriage have been birth of our kids, seeing our kids do wonderful things, being able to grow together, seeing each other go through new challenges. My husband getting a new job with the FBI after working from home for 20 years and seeing how he's handled that and gone into a management position. And then for him supporting me through all the things that I've done with my college education, and then going into founding that nonprofit, going into an entrepreneurship situation. And so those have all been highlights, definitely. And then realizing that 28 years and we've made it. And I don't think either of us are going anywhere. We know that even if we hit those low lows, there's enough confidence that we know that we can come back up.
I love that. Yeah.
So what about the downs?
The downs. Those have usually been times of stress where it's an outside force. In-laws.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say this, and you as a man, you'll be like, oh, yeah, right. But my family is really, really great. And he would agree with that. My parents actually live with us. They live we have a 3-story house, and they live in the basement apartment. And they're super supportive. They love him like crazy. They don't take sides with fights. They've been wonderful. His family though, not so much. And that's definitely been a stress trying to learn how to negotiate that.
Why are the in-laws difficult on your end? For him specifically, or his family, excuse me.
It really doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with them and some dysfunction, a lot of dysfunction in their family that none of them have been able to deal with before. So you bring people who are pretty dysfunctional and in the box into a relationship that they're just kind of out there. They don't know how to deal with themselves. They're not self-aware. So they're definitely not going to be able to understand how to put a relationship together and the dynamics of the family and stuff. And they also, my husband comes from a pretty small family. He just has one brother. So coming from that to I have one brother and one sister, and then we have 4 kids. And so larger family. Plus my mom is the baby of 22 children. So huge family.
In the world. That's why your parents are good.
They manage the entire classroom.
Wait, so how many siblings does your dad have?
My dad only had one sibling, one sister.
Wow.
Now, see, I wonder how it was for him to manage 21 siblings when he married.
In-laws.
Yeah, siblings in-laws when he married your mom, because that would probably be overwhelming to somebody who's just used to just one other person. And then it's like, oh, I want you to meet my siblings. And you're like, oh, how many do you have? Like 21.
I think that would be the hardest part would be remembering everybody's name. Hey, Steve. Mike.
But so how long have your parents lived with you?
Just once they retired. So we've been here about a year and a half. So about a year and a half.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You just gave me a lot to wrap my head around.
Right. That's a lot of people.
Oh, okay. Well then.
What was the interview process like for your husband? Well, for your, I guess, that's a question I would
For your
love to.
dad,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
for your father-in-law.
But no, so
Right? I should hook you up with them. They've been married, I think it's 50 years,
Wow.
or it's going to be 50 years. And they've had their ups and downs too, but
Right.
they've stuck it out. They are together for sure.
now with 28 years under your belt, how did we keep the flames going?
That's ups and downs too, right? That's sometimes, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Oh my gosh, I hate you. Get away from me. I'm sleeping on the couch tonight.
Don't touch me.
Right? You definitely have to have that date night and be intentional about it, because the times when it's gotten bad are the times when we're not intentional, when our focus has just been on other things, and that hasn't, and that we haven't been intentional about setting that time. And that's not to say that there's ever balance. I'm a firm believer in the fact that these people who say they're striving for balance, they're disillusioned, or they're delusional, because there's no such thing as balance. Always you're going to have more concentration on the kids or work or something, or maybe it's the two of you, and it's going to go like that up and down the whole time. You just have to figure out what your goals are together and stay intentional about hitting those and about making time for each other.
Love that. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of like point on that, because I think also, not everyone, but I think some people may have what's the word I want to use? Like they think that when you get married, that you just have access all the time to sex because you have that one person. Not thinking that work will get in the way, being tired with the kids will get in the way, you just not having enough self-care will get in the way. Like it's not going to always be like hot and heavy all the time. And then it may go some weeks, months where you just like, you know what? We have not had sex. So, yeah. And
especially when the kids are young, right? Because you have all those hands all over you all the time. You're like, oh,
don't touch me.
Nobody don't touch me. So what would you say has been the toughest? You being a stay-at-home mom, or now being an entrepreneur as being, married?
I would say me being an entrepreneur and working outside. I set my own hours. I'm in my office right now. It's 10 p.m. And that's definitely been the hardest, because for 20 years, 28 years. So it's been the past 3 years that I've really been entrepreneurial and kind of away. About 10 years since I started school and was working, but not as much as I am away now. And that's been, it's been hard to transition from me taking care of everything. I've got the meals, I do the grocery shopping, the house is clean, nobody has to worry about anything. I've got all that under control, to now, nope, it's not under control, and I could really use some help. And I shouldn't even have to tell you, because you really should look around with your own eyes and figure it out. Right? So, which isn't true. We need to open our mouths and say, hey, I could use some help, because, he doesn't see the same things that I do. He doesn't see things the same way as I do. So it has definitely been more of an adjustment with me bringing income into the house versus not.
So do you believe that, I'm just trying to figure out how I want to word this. Is this the first time that you've ever had the opportunity to focus on you and what you want to build?
No, that's a really interesting question, because no, when we got married, I was focused on not necessarily, my plan wasn't necessarily to stay at home, but my focus was, or my goal was, hey, I want a family. We wanted a family together. So I wouldn't say I built a family. I wanted that. So I wouldn't say that I couldn't do that. And then when the kids got older, I thought, all right, now next step, what do I want now? Now I want to go back to my music career, and I focused on building that up, getting my degrees and having that credibility in that paper. I taught at the university level, and he was super supportive through all of that. I established a 501c3 for musicians in New Mexico. It's still going strong. Built that up, spent a lot of time building that up. So that was for me, definitely. All the performing gigs that I did, and now is and all of that didn't really bring any income in. It brought a little bit of income. So now this is like the step 3, 1, 2, 3 iteration of me. And okay, I've built teams, made no money, built a family, made no money. And now I'm to the point where this is now where I really want to see is building up a legacy, a financial legacy for my family. And that's kind of where my focus is right now. So I don't think that this is the first time that I built anything for myself. I feel like this is just another thing that I'm building, and it's not really for myself. It's really for my family. And that's always been where my focus is.
Okay. Selfless. I like it.
Oh, yes. So would you say marriage is hard?
Yes, it is.
And because I know a lot of people may hear and they're like, oh, everyone says marriage is hard. But why would you say marriage is hard?
Because you have to be selfless. If you are selfish in any long-term period of time, you'll tear down everything. You'll self-destruct. You'll destroy your marriage. You'll destroy him. You'll destroy everything.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a victim of that. So this is my second marriage.
Oh.
So
yeah,
that's exactly who I was in my first marriage. Was the selfish. I'm gonna do what I want to do because I don't really care what anybody else has to say.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today. I'm in a second marriage where my wife is the bully.
Yeah.
And the challenger.
Mm-hmm.
So dynamic has changed. I've also grown a lot. So
because I cracked that whip.
That too.
Yeah.
We have those periods. Both of us have those periods through, or have and had, and we'll continue to have those periods where we're like selfish and we have to go, oh, wait, okay, let's go backwards a little bit. Let's rewind and refocus.
I agree.
He's done it. I've done it. And I'm sure it'll happen more.
So what has been the biggest change in you for the better that you know came from marriage that you couldn't get from being single?
Commitment, I guess, is really the biggest change is, and I wouldn't say it's a change. It's just, you can quit a job. You can quit, you can quit a job. You can quit a project. You can quit cleaning house and not have huge consequences. I guess you have huge consequences. It's keeping consistent with that relationship, committing to that relationship no matter what, 100%. And knowing that there's no burning the bridges behind you, right? There's no going back. For us, divorce was never an option. So no matter how long we don't talk to each other or how long we're sleeping in separate bedrooms or how long we're stuck together like glue, we're not going, neither one of us are going anywhere. So we know that we have to get through it. So that consistency, that push through of we're going to work it out no matter what is, that would be the biggest change that I couldn't get from not being married, because I'd given up on friendships before. I had a few boyfriends before I got married and I gave up on those. I didn't want anything that, was like, that's getting hard. I'm done with that. This one, we're not giving up on.
So where did you, because I had to come from somewhere else as well. Did it help to see that you had parents who have been together for so long?
I think so, but I don't know, because I've never known anything other than my parents being together. The divorce has never been an option for them either. They've been super, super close. I don't think I've ever really seen them have a knockdown, drag out fight. They've had little, little spats and stuff, but nothing really. So I guess that was it. And then, maybe my mom's mother as well. My mom's parents, they stuck it out and they had a rough time. That's a conversation for another time, but that was a rough marriage. And they stayed together, no divorce, until he passed away.
Wow.
And, so I guess that's where I get the example from, is my mom's side.
Now, has your mom and dad, or either one by themselves, ever spoke to you and your siblings about marriage, or kind of like what to expect? And I just ask that because as parents, we prepare our children for like life and school and career, but most of the time we don't prepare them for relationships.
Yeah, I totally agree. Relationships and money are the two things that we don't really talk about. No, they didn't really talk about it. Well, they didn't really not talk about it. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting question. So to give you, to answer that, I really do have to go back a little bit, and I don't think my mom would mind me sharing this, but they did talk about their relationship a little bit. I told you that my grandparents had a tough marriage. My mom, being one of 22 kids, was sexually abused by her father.
Oh, wow.
So all of the girls were. So the relationship with her, walking into that relationship with my dad, the only boyfriend she ever had, she came from a pretty poor family. So like the first time she ever rode in a car was when I think she was 16. The first time my dad took her out when she was 19 for her first piece of pizza. Incidentally, they're right there. They're up there in Sanford Maiden right now eating at that same pizza place. So, so all of that we knew about. And then my mom did share from probably when I was too young. She shared all of the things that had happened and said, if your dad, the one thing that she said is if your dad ever touches you, he knows if he ever crosses that line, that's it. We're done. He's out. And, so we knew that. But my dad was always super respectful and, he really paid attention to my mom and how she felt and when she was uncomfortable. So that respect was modeled for us.
I love that because that showed that he was really empathetic to kind of like her triggers to what she had been through. So it really did help with that communication with her, like telling her story, because a lot of people wouldn't say anything. But then all of these triggers are coming out and they're reacting to certain things, but the other person doesn't know. So it was kind of like your mom was just like, let me tell you what happened to me. And then your dad, because I don't think he didn't have to respond that way. You know what I'm saying? He could have been like, well, I don't want to deal with this. Or, you know what I'm saying? I'll try my best to not, but I mean, I don't know what to do. But you can tell he was so empathetic, even to, you know what I'm saying? Even to when he had kids, just to make sure that your mom felt okay with everything that he was doing.
Yep.
That was really good. So do you kind of like try to give that same example to your children?
Oh no, I am not like I'm like my mom in certain ways. I'm more the bully.
It was just like,
my husband is super calm, really passive, type B, and I'm like, we have goals, let's go, run, we got to get this done. So yeah, no, I'm the forceful one, definitely. I am not calm. I'm not even. I'm up and down and let's go.
Internet high five.
Yeah. This is your twin over here to my left.
But things get done.
And I am definitely chill and laid back.
He's like, to me, he's like laid back to the floor. Like he's all the way laid back. But my bullying helps get things accomplished, even in your life.
Agree.
Yes.
And look, no judgment. I appreciate everything you've done for me.
It works. Look.
You know, sometimes I get mad that my husband's so laid back like that. But then I think, oh my gosh, I think I'd be divorced like right away if I was married to someone like me. There would always be that battle.
So like, do your kids even ask maybe about like relationship things?
They don't really ask. They see it.
Yeah.
You know, and they will bring out like, well, Dad's this way or, you know, or whatever, you're just that way. So they see it. I think that in relationships, honestly, more is caught than taught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is. But I think sometimes it helps with just a little bit of communication because just of the perception. You never know the perception that the child is conjuring up in their own head. And you're like, actually, no, that's not how that happened. Or, yeah, you know, like. We
have gone back and talked about past things. And one of the things that I have talked to all of my kids about is just that relationship with families. Like, don't think if you're going into marriage and you do not get along with that family, don't think it's not going to affect you. It will affect you.
Yes, ma'am.
So you realize you're not just marrying that person. To some degree, you are marrying their family too. And that's going to have a profound effect on your relationship.
Yes, it will.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Like there's no wait. Let's wait on it. It's going to interact. I mean, it'll affect everything that you do as a couple immediately.
Yeah, because I remember one guy, this was my first time ever experiencing, like, I felt like a family didn't like me, like the whole family. Like, I've never even had like a mom or dad not like me. So it's like when you bring me home, it's just like, oh my God, where has she been? But this time, like no one, like first time meeting them, no one would talk to me, like at all. And I was just like, wow. So, and the only thing he would say is, don't mind them. They just have to get used to you. And so it was just like, I was taken aback, like, but how do they get used to me if they won't talk to me? So finally, like, it took a while. It was like a couple of months. And finally, his mom was like, you know, she apologized. And his brother's wife apologized to dad. Everyone apologized and was saying, like, the reason why we treated you like this, because we were tired of him bringing people home. So it was like, we didn't want to get used to another person. So it's just like, girl, whatever. You're not going to even be here alone.
Sounds familiar.
But your family wasn't mean to them like that.
They like, entertained it.
Yeah. See, like they was like, girl, mm-mm.
They entertained it because they were like, oh, this is temporary. We'll play around. We'll play the game. Until.
Right. So yeah. Now, I like to ask this question. So when you got married, did you have a wedding?
I did.
Yes. So did you, you know how usually at the wedding people or some of like your family members, like your grandma, your aunts or whatever, they try to give you like wedding advice. It's supposed to be like a fun thing. Like, you know, everyone says something like for us, like now, like either at the bridal shower or even like, you know, while you're getting dressed, you know, like, okay, this is, you know, something you need to know getting into marriage. Like what advice would you have taken for you that you wish you would have had going into marriage? Like you wish someone would have told you that earlier.
That's a really good question. And I don't have a good answer for it because I feel like watching my parents really did prepare me for a lot, watching their ups and downs. Like I said, they didn't really have knockdown dragouts, but the one thing that I saw is they always worked it out. So, and they were 100% committed. I can tell you at no time while I was growing up did I ever think, oh my gosh, maybe my parents are going to get divorced. Mm-hmm. So watching them go through, watching them model a good relationship, knowing that they both came from pretty unhealthy homes, mm-hmm. Was really what prepared me, definitely. Now thinking about the other side of it though, now I'm thinking a little bit more about the in-law stuff, the way that his family would affect our relationship. That would be something that I wish someone would have told me. That actually could have affected whether or not we got married. So that was something that I wasn't prepared for, is the effect that a family could have, because I wanted, like, you know, the figurative or the white picket fence, mm-hmm. and, you know, all that stuff, and both families getting along. And I tried really hard to make that happen. And everybody got along on the surface, but my in-laws are not real. They don't want to deal with conflict, and I'm super confrontational. I like to just get it all out there and, you know, work through it and be done. So they don't like to deal with conflict. They just sweep everything under the rug and smile and say everything's okay. But when they walk away from you, then they pull things down and tear you down. So that was what I was not prepared for. So much so that when all that came to a head over something very stupid, mm-hmm. I ended up with panic attacks for a while. They really messed with my identity of who I was. So I had a 30-day period where I really had to like step back and reevaluate what these relationships were and how they were affecting me. And honestly, if it was worth it. And what ended up, the result in that is the last time I really had a meaningful conversation with my mother-in-law was about 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's big of you to be self-aware about what it did to you and how to resolve it. Unfortunately, you can't talk, it'll be a trigger if you probably have a conversation with her, because it'll take you backwards, right? So not communicating.
She's around. She was at her house. She visited. She's around. It's just like, hey, how are you doing? This internal rule, consistency rule for me is I don't share things or get pretty deep with people who I don't trust. Mm. And I trust pretty much everybody until you give me a reason not to. She gave me a reason not to. So we have a very surface, you know, hey, how you doing? Hug, hug, hug relationship, and we walk away. That's it. Or I walk away.
Yeah.
Wow. You got the church hug. See you later.
Yeah. And I like that I like that you said that, because I think that's another thing people struggle with, like feeling okay to walk away from something for the betterment of yourself. Like, yes, this is your mother-in-law, but if you try to continue this relationship, how toxic it would be to you. So am I going to jeopardize my well-being for a relationship that is toxic, or am I going to find a way to kind of like step back and just make it, you know, as best as possible to make sure my health is good? Yeah.
Have you ever read a book called The Energy Bus by John Gordon?
No.
Write that down.
It's kind of that same. He's got like 10 rules for life, and he talks about that energy, and that's one of the things is either you're on the bus with me or I'm going to leave you on the curb, because I don't want that negative energy in my life.
See, but I'm good at that. I'm the cutoff queen, so it's just like, you know, my husband knows I thrive off of 95% of positivity. I will allocate 5% to crying, to having like a bad day, but I don't dwell on a lot of like negative things. So when someone comes around who's just like negative, complaining, like everything is just terrible, it's just like, okay, I have to move away. Because so it's like, it's easy for me. I'm just like, I can't do it.
Yeah, her bus has a limited amount of people.
That's right. It's a short bus.
She has VIP seating only. Meanwhile, the whole public can get on my bus.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I protect my bus too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely my inner circle, people of associations that I'll keep really close because we're all on the same track, trying to grow, be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And then there's everybody else. And those people, I just have to protect myself.
So how does your husband feel about you not being interactive with his family? I mean, obviously you've been married for a while now and he's been dealing with it. But when it first happened, what was his initial reaction?
He doesn't have much of a relationship with his family either.
So he was like,
he has never had much of a relationship. It was driven by me from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When this whole thing blew up, I said, me being the confrontational person, okay, let's go. We'll get the kids a babysitter. Let's go meet and talk this out. So it was me and him and his mother. His parents are divorced. So that's an important piece. So me, him, and his mother. And we sat down and talked. And I said, hey, look, now's your time to get this out on the table. If you have some problems with me, I've done things to offend you. Please get it out now. Because if you do not, and you say everything's fine, you continue to say everything's fine, and we walk away from this table, there are consequences for that. Mm-hmm. And she wouldn't get it out. She wouldn't say, oh, no, I don't have any problems. But then she'd go behind my back. And I knew she had. Mm-hmm. It all started because she took him out. They went out to look for a computer, and she told him all the reasons why he should divorce me. Wow. And I was like, wait, I didn't even know this was an issue. And then all of a sudden he tells me that, and then it's like, poof, we're blowing up. So, and I told her that, I said, look, who do you think has been responsible for this relationship for 10 years? I have. I'm the one who buys your Christmas present. I'm the one who calls you, who buys your birthday present, who tells him to call you to check up on you. I do all of that. If you're going to damage this relationship this much, if this is the path that you want to go on, I'm going to take a step back. And now he's going to be solely responsible for that relationship with you. So I did. And now they talk once or twice a year. Yeah.
You see how that went, girl. Okay.
Yep.
It's real out here.
Yeah. Like you have to be, but misery loves company.
No doubt.
Yeah. Is your husband has a brother, right?
He has one brother. Mm-hmm.
Is he married?
He is married.
Oh, good. I was going to say, maybe she got the other brother, but he's married, so he's fine.
Yeah, he's married, and they have 4 kids, and they keep pretty separate as well.
Oh, it sounds like they copied you. 4 kids. And
yeah. A whole different reason there.
So, since we just got off of advice, so what real advice would you give a single person
who wants to be married?
Yeah.
A single person who wants to be. That's a good add in there. Don't rush into it. I'm kind of gotta think about this. I'm kind of going through this with my daughter, mm-hmm. and she wants to be, she's 25, and she wants to be married. And she's engaged now. And my advice to her has been, make sure that you're not rushing into something because you want to get to that. She talks about getting to that next step in life. All of her friends are getting married. And so she feels like she's getting left out. That is the wrong reason to get married. Make mm-hmm. sure that it's the right person, that you have a realistic view of that person and what a marriage looks like, because if you don't and you go into it, you can seriously damage each other and children that come from that. Divorce is not easy for anybody. Even if you want the divorce, it's not easy.
Agreed 100%. It is a different road. It's a roller coaster, and I did want it, but it is an emotional roller coaster that a lot of people aren't prepared for, and it will damage you it could damage you forever. The way you mm-hmm. view a relationship. Your children could resent you if you had children with your ex. It's a lot of different things that could affect you as a person. But I think at the end of the day, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. For me, and it was like, I made some serious mistakes. I took some serious consequences from those mistakes, but I'm still alive and I still have an opportunity to better myself. And I think that's what provided me that push to continue to get better. Or to want to get better, not just for myself, but for my daughter as well. Because if I'm in this depressed state or I allow it to affect me, it could absolutely destroy her as she's being raised between me and her mother. That's great advice to give your daughter. I mean, that's amazing advice. And I hope she truly understands that and is listening. Not to just be like, okay, Mom, I hear you, but to be like, hey, Mom, I appreciate you and I appreciate the advice that you provided, because I've noticed some things that I need to address prior to possibly getting married. So
I think the most successful marriages that I've seen are when two people go in like whole and complete people. They don't need each other. They want to be each other. They want to be with each other. If you got two, halves making a whole, it can work. I've seen it work, but it's tougher. It's more of a struggle.
You're over here smiling because you said it. That's one trend that has been consistent, like since I don't know when, but everybody keeps referring to being whole as, a requirement when you get into a marriage. I would agree.
With her saying that, it's funny, but I remember saying this to you one time and you got upset, but I don't think you were absorbing what I was saying.
Yeah, I was listening to respond.
Well, you didn't even respond. So, but it was, but it also could have been the way I said it. But I told you one day that I don't need you. I want to be with you.
Correct.
And you he shut down, quiet. And then later on, it was just like, I didn't like how you, what you said. I don't like how you said it. But it's like, it's true. Like, I don't need to be here with you.
That's fair.
Like, I don't need anything. But at the time, it was just like.
Yeah, I was emotional.
What?
Okay. Next question.
So, I do it like you do. I would much rather want someone to want to be with me than need me. Like, I need to eat. I don't like to eat, but I need to eat. I need to sleep. I'd rather use those hours for something else, but I need to sleep. I want someone to want to be with me than need me to be there.
Yes.
That drives me crazy.
Yes. Now, last thing I wanted to ask, I don't think I got to ask, was have you and your husband ever gone to counseling?
No, we should, but we haven't. It's funny that you say that because I was just on a call with some friends of mine, and these guys run their own agency. They run a team of hundreds of people, super busy. They have 6 kids together. This is their second marriage. They have his, hers, and ours kids, blended family. And she was talking about how they go to counseling. She said, there's always, and they have a great marriage. If you look at them from the outside, you think, wow, why would they need to go to counseling? But that's precisely why they don't look like they need to go, because they have someone who's there and they can talk it out and work on things. And she said, we can always learn something from that. And it helps them keep focused on their goals and keep moving in the same direction together.
Yes. And we do the same thing.
We do.
Yeah. We go once a month. Even if there isn't anything, we kind of we go for our checkup.
Soil change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we just want to know, because a lot of people, I think with you having that great foundation, that probably helped where you may have not thought to even go to counseling. It's kind of you just had that foundation of this. Well, I don't care that you're married because we're going to work it out. So whatever.
I think it's a different generation too, because for me, if we go to counseling, if we had said, oh, we're going to counseling, it would be like, oh, we're getting close to having a divorce, so we need to do this to stop a problem versus we need to do this to prevent problems.
Yeah.
And now younger people are more open to that. Like you said, the oil change, that kind of a situation. I think that's much healthier. If I had thought it was an option before, I probably would have done it. But now we're on this track and, 28 years and we haven't done it up until now. So it's hard to convince them to do something.
Right. Why do we need to go now?
Yeah, I'm a fan of proactive over reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And going because you have problems is more reactive. Not saying that you can't fix them, but how about we address them immediately before, or maybe we can address them and now we don't even have to see them because we have the tools to push us through those issues.
But then I also what Suzanne stated, for her generation, I think
it was frowned upon.
No, not even that. But she had, even though everyone didn't have a 2-parent household or the 2-parent household was there, but you had more examples of sticking it out where we don't have that.
Very true.
We have more of the broken family example. Right, because
women were allowed, or it used to be frowned upon to get divorced, right? As we got, as society evolved, it was more accepted.
Yeah.
And now that it was more accepted, women weren't putting up with the same, excuse my language, shit that you would deal with back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's more freedom. I can do this by myself. To your point, I don't need you.
Yeah.
I want you.
But I don't think people even get into the want. I want what you can provide to me, which is a marriage, which I can tell people I am married, where I can tell people I have a husband, where I can tell people, oh, we went on trips.
It's all image driven.
Yes. Not to where it's like, oh no, I want to be with my husband. I want to build something with my husband instead of, oh yeah, I have that guy over there. He's my toy in my pocket.
Touche.
Yeah.
You know how problems get worse over generations, right? So you look at, I graduated from high school in 1988. I'm thinking back, I honestly can't remember anyone who had divorced parents. I'm sure there was one or two that I'm missing, but I can't think of anyone who has divorced parents. Where you look at my kids now, it's pretty even, 50-50. They're dealing with that. And so when you see one generation, and divorce is easy, right? Mm-hmm. So then you get to the next and it's even easier. Yeah. And easier and easier and easier. And you go down the line until there's a backlash of like, wait, we got to go back and reevaluate things again. And I think that's just where things are headed now. It's just divorces. It's normal. It's normal. And it wasn't normal back when I grew up. So maybe that's part of my example, I guess, with my parents being married that long. And then it just wasn't an option for us. And part of the language that we used. And now that language just isn't used in households very much.
Yes. Well, babe, did you have anything?
No, thank you so much, Suzanne. This was awesome.
Yeah,
you are a blueprint for a lot of people who want to be married, I guess, in a way, or want to know what success in a marriage will look like.
Yeah.
To be honest, a lot of people don't make it past 2 years.
Yeah.
So
I would like to see 28 years.
Hello, I'm writing it on the calendar now.
Is it 2 years for you guys?
Yes.
Yes. It's a little more than 2 years. 2 years and 2 months, something like that.
Yeah.
So you guys still are kind of in the honeymoon stage.
Are we?
It is interesting.
Yes.
But we go to counseling once a month, so we're probably way ahead of where we should be or where we would have been had we not done it.
We would have been divorced.
I mean, we've been going to counseling since premarital counseling. Yeah, so it has literally every month.
Yeah. So we've been almost going to counseling almost 3 years.
Yep. January will be 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
For counseling.
That's awesome. You guys have had a lot of opportunity to talk about things that you might not even been thought of to talk about before.
Or not even talk about, just, because I have a habit of, I will talk about it, but sometimes depending on what it is or how I think that the person is going to react, I'll wait to the boiling point.
Mm.
Yeah. Because if I feel that I'm not going to be heard, if I'm like literally trying, like I have no problem communicating, but my issue is if I know like you're really not going to hear me or what I'm trying to say, I'm not going to express myself on deaf ears.
Oh, we are twins. Yep. So, definitely, because that is exactly how I am, and I can go for a long time without talking to you.
Yeah. So it's like that counseling helped, like a better way for me to, I guess, just like, okay, I don't care. This is what it is, like, and it helped, like, sometimes for her to maybe translate it in a way for him to hear what I'm like trying to say. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a literal person, but it's like sometimes, like how he says, he may already have a response, so he really doesn't hear what I'm trying to say to him. Yeah. So that has really helped, especially with the communication, because I'm like the big communicator. I'm like you. Like, if there's a problem, let's talk about it now so we can just go ahead and get this out the way and then move on. And he's like, we're not going to talk about it. So now he's like, oh, you've made me do this thing that I don't want to do.
I'm really good at it now.
He is.
Really good. But it's helped me overall.
You're like my husband. Exactly. He's the exact same way too. If he can avoid talking about it, he's like, it's all good. We're going to move on.
What elephant? I don't see any elephant in here.
Right? Exactly.
So, yeah. So, Suzanne, thank you so much for jumping in the trenches with us and, sharing your journey with us to help us get our mission across. We're trying to help people from getting divorced, just to getting married, to be on social media.
Right. Well, my marriage sucks, but my Instagram account is crazy.
Until you get a divorce and have to delete all those pictures.
Oh, sucks for those people.
All right. Suzanne, do you have any last words for our trench mob?
No, actually, I think I said everything.
Yes, you have. All right.
Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that episode.
28 years, guys.
28.
I'm looking forward to it. If she hasn't murdered me by then.
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking about that.
Because she listens to a lot of podcasts and watches a lot of documentaries on serial killers and murderers. Mm-hmm. And I think I've said this before, but if I come up missing, you know who the prime suspect is.
You know.
Shut up. But we hope you enjoyed the episode. Got a lot of gems in that one. Like I said, Suzanne and her husband are goals.
Yeah. That's all.
All right.
So.
Until next time. Peace.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Shut up.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.